Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to new standards of excellence.
Yes.
Say yes to engaging reportage with a difference.
Yes.
Introducing Yes International Magazine. The time to say yes to your dreams and aspirations is here.
There's one Ochiwelaya or something that says I should find out from you.
Yes.
Print media or on TV. Which one do you prefer? So let me just take that person's question before I come back to the again.
Well, there are two different platforms. In the print, you are there, you are writing, you are editing, you have space to fill. But I find, television, the form is slightly different, and broadcasters, I think, are a bit more relaxed than people in print journalism. The kind of dictatorship of the editor that you find in the print media, for example, you don't quite find that dictatorship in broadcasting. I find broadcasters are more relaxed, they are more, friendly, in terms of their work ethic. But you know how it is. Every newsroom has that commander-in-chief who takes the decision. But in television, there is greater freedom. There is even more freedom on radio. And, it's just a way of, you just have to adjust. But all of these platforms have their value and they are important. It's not a question of my preferring one to the other. I've done print my entire life. Then I got involved in television. But I tell people that given my background, all of this is not strange. You'll find many people who did theater arts, who are also into broadcasting, PR, advertising. That was the nature of our original training, And in fact, the department in Calabar is now, they changed it shortly after we graduated. They changed it to theater and media studies. So it was what we did in school: sociology, mass comm, television production, radio production, all of that. So it's not as if I've made any kind of shifts. It's all within the scope of my training and background.
All right. There's another question from Osagi. He says, how can one develop language as a tool for writing? Maybe you can take that before I come back to my own question.
Well, language is the main tool that we use. It's like, a carpenter, making use of his own tools, or a doctor making use of the stethoscope. We engage with people with language. But I think, how to develop it? I think by reading voraciously. By reading other writers, you see how they do it. And then, you try to learn and try to develop your own style, your own voice, but it's not easy. And I always like to cite this example. As a young person trying to write for the Nigerian newspapers, it used to pay me a lot if I wrote a copy, and I would be checking the newspaper and it would not be published. And I would be wondering, what is it that is wrong with this, my copy? But I kept at it. I wasn't discouraged until I got to a point whereby anything I wrote would automatically be published anyway. So that built my confidence. And the more confident you become, the more you try to work harder at your craft. You begin to experiment with all kinds of, methods. But of course, reading is very important. You have to read. And then you must also have the discipline to sit down. I know a lot of people who write very well, but they are not as productive because they probably don't have that enough discipline to see that. Some people will tell me, oh, to write an article, they spend like 4 or 5 days on it. And I'll ask them, if you spend 5 days to do 1,500 words, how many essays will you be able to write in a year? I don't have that luxury. I just sit down and sit with it and, you know, suffer and, you know, punish myself until it is gone. But I guess we're different. You know.
All right. Now, what puts you off in a story?
No, bad writing, of course. Bad writing. I mean, there are you know, sometimes when I'm reading any material, you can be sure I will have either a red pen or a black pen. You know, and if I see any kind of inelegant construction, you know, I'm likely to take my pen and be rewriting it. But I guess that you know, comes from having worked as an editor for more than 20 years. You know, rewriting other people's copies, giving titles to material. So that's almost like a habit. It's not snobbering. But of course, if I see, you know, a very poor construction, I'm likely to spot it, because I mean, that was my job for more than 20 years.
Okay. So what keeps you glued to a story?
Yeah, if it's interesting, if the ideas are, you know, useful, enlightening, yes, then I'll sit down with it and keep going. And particularly if it is well written, you know, I see nice tons of phrases. You know, sometimes I'll say, let me memorize this. I'm going to steal it from this author. I will use it. Sometimes some of my friends, some of our colleagues, they will write something. I may see a good ton of phrase there. I could call the person and say, wow, I like that expression. I hope you don't mind if I steal it and use it someday. Yeah, so we learn from each other every day.
Now, look, how is life as a former presidential spokesman?
No, I mean, life goes on. I mean, you know, some of my friends who went to work in Abuja, and I'm not criticizing them. You know, once they work in Abuja for a few years, they stay permanently in Abuja. The first thing I told myself is that, look, I went to Abuja on a national assignment. Once that assignment is done, I'll go back, you know, to what I was doing before. I mean, I don't want to be hanging around, you know, the corridors of power, because when lawyers go into government, they come out, they return to the courtroom. They just go back to what they were doing before they left to go and work in government. If medical doctors go to take a political appointment, they return to the hospital to continue with their career. University professors, they go to the States to be commissioners, they go to Abuja, they take on some other commitments, maybe international, they return to the classroom. Okay, so for me, what I've just done is, okay, we've done presidential spokesman job. I've had, you know, some knowledge, some experience within the public sector, but I came from the private sector and from academia. So I just returned to what I do ordinarily, which is, you know, journalism. So
All right.
I'm back with my writings. I've been writing since I returned from Abuja, and I'm also back on television. Before I went to Abuja, you know, we were doing Patito's Gang with Professor Tommy. So going back to television is not a problem. So I think it's important for people to realize that, look, yes, you can go into government, you can go into politics, but politics should not be, it should not be a job. You know, you must have a second address. There must be something that you do. And the people that I respect are persons who have been in government and who have moved on to continue to contribute to society in a constructive manner. But of course, I've seen people who say, well, they are politicians for life, and that the reason they're there is to be able to get political appointment. And I say, well, I don't know, I don't understand why, you know, hanging around the corridors of power will be a lifetime choice. But as I say, people make their own choices.
All right. Now, what didn't you know about government and governance that you only discovered, you know, when you went into serve as a presidential spokesman?
Well, I mean, there are two different streets, sides of the street. When you are out here, you probably may not know how they operate inside government. So what I would say is that, look, going into government, I think I'm, better informed about the processes of government. And in fact, after I left, we left government in 2015, there were things I had learned that I realized that I then told myself, oh, if I go back to government some other day in the future, I already have an idea of how the system functions. And it got to a point when I used to tell people that, look, I can run Nigeria based on what I know and what I've observed. So it helps. I always tell people, if you have the opportunity to go to the other side of the street to work in government, then maybe you seize the opportunity, as long as you don't turn it into an obsession. So I think it was a learning opportunity for me, and that's why after government, there are certain things people will say, and I could offer a different perspective based on what I have seen, and based on the fact that, look, I know people who worked that I worked with in government that are still in government. Just one phone call, I can get whatever clarification that I need. But I guess as we grow older, we gain new knowledge, we acquire new perspectives. So in those days, I'm no longer that angry young man, that started a career in those days. I have a different, other perspectives about how society is organized.
Wow, interesting. Now, what was the greatest lesson that you learned from ex-president Goodluck Jonathan, whom you worked for?
Well, the first thing is his humility. President Jonathan is a very humble person. I mean, not too many persons will give him power or to serve at the highest level and would have that level of humility. I mean, you only need to relate with him. People think that he's soft. He's not soft. He's very assertive, and he can put his feet down. But he will not do it. He will not do it in a dictatorial manner, and he's somebody who also listens. He has the capacity to listen to other people. I mean, in those days, if we went anywhere and he went to make a presentation somewhere, or there is a meeting and we go back to the residence with him, he will ask everybody, security men, some of the aides, to say, okay, this event that we did, what do you think? I mean, he was our boss, the president of Nigeria. And he will tell you, look, if you see me making any mistake, please feel free to tell me, because if we fail together. And he will always say, look, we're in this together. Now, there were some occasions when, you could have issues with people. He will call you aside and say, look, please don't quarrel with people. Don't quarrel with people. Let us all just work together and focus on the assignment. So, and I think that's a very impressive side of him. But a lot of people misinterpreted that to mean softness. But if you worked closely with him, you know that he's a man, who is who has the strength of his own convictions. If he has a view, he will tell you, but he will not dictate, to you or treat you shabbily. And of course, after a while, we all studied him very well. We knew his habits. If he didn't want to listen to you, he will start looking away. Otherwise, he will pay close attention to you. And then we know, oh, guys, dismissed me. So he just quietly go away.
All right. Now,
no, it was great working with him.
Wow, interesting. Now, your time in government, how would you sort it up?
I mean, I said it already. I said it was like going to university. If the 4 years was, for the research program or so, I probably would have walked away with another PhD. But the experience that I gained, the opportunities that I had, that was a lifetime experience. And, I've made new friends. And we've remained in touch, and I'm sure that we'll remain in touch for life. And of course, the knowledge that one gained from there is something that will remain of great value forever.
All right. Now, what would Dr. Reuben
So you
Abati
know that what I'm
describe?
saying. This same question you asked me, the way some people ask the question, they will say, "Do you have any regrets?" So in other words, I have no regrets going to work in government.
I like that. I like that. All right, but what would you describe as your greatest achievement in that position?
Well, again, I don't like to assess myself, but let me put it like this. No two presidents are the same. No two presidential systems are the same. So the circumstances depend on individual experience. So, and that's why I say, look, I don't like to assess myself. But I think, we did what we could do. But when we left government, that is the Jonathan administration, that is, and all of us who worked in that administration up till that moment. Many people were criticizing us. I will go to the airport, maybe to come to Lagos or to go to Abuja. You could see the look on people's faces, like, oh, these are those people, But, all of that has changed now. Over time, people now say, oh, you people tried, you people did well. Today, President Jonathan is practically a hero. When he goes anywhere, he receives, a standing ovation. But that was not the situation shortly after we left government. So I think that time, offers people, new ways of looking at the situation. But I wouldn't want to praise myself. But whatever, we did at that time in terms of managing the communication process, I'm sure opinion will be divided about it. But at least we did what we could, and it was, a great opportunity to make some contribution.
All right. Now, you ran as a deputy governorship candidate in Ogun State. How would you sum up that experience, and what made you decide to take that plunge, that political plunge?
Well, I mean, again, I've told you, although I may be in the private sector, I told you that I would never discourage anybody from going into the public sector or participating in the governance process in any way whatsoever. One of the problems we've had with politics and public service in this country is that we got to a point whereby politics and public service became some kind of sinful engagement. People will tell you, oh, politics is too dirty. If you go into it, you will get tainted. Or some people will say, no, I can never go near government. Let me just stay in my house. I want my peace. Well, the danger in that is that when you look around, there is a crisis with the leadership recruitment process in Nigeria. You find people who are not capable, Division 3 persons, but because they can take the risk, because they have the courage. They take the plunge, they go into it, and then you have a situation whereby at many levels, you just have incompetent people, very ignorant people in, very important positions, and they determine your fate and my fate and the future of our children. So if you think you have something to contribute, don't sit at home. Nobody is going to come and invite you in your house to come and show interest in governance or politics. You have to be involved. So I think that we have reached a stage in Nigeria now where we cannot afford to be bystanders in the management of our country. And someone like me, yes, if I have the opportunity another time, yes, I'll go into, into the political arena or go into public service. When I ran as a deputy governor, I got the opportunity to see how this society is organized from another angle. And I gained knowledge about the state. You can be going to your hometown and coming out, you may not know what is going on there unless you join them. And I had a front row, opportunity to see how politics in Nigeria is organized and to understand our people much better. And then, of course, to understand the challenges, faced at that local level. So I've been in the federal government. I've also seen what goes on at the local level. We may not have won, but there will be another opportunity another day, and I'll be ready to get involved.
Interesting. Now, let me bring you back to writing again. You are one of Nigeria's most read columnists. How does that make you feel?
Do you know how many columnists are out there?
But I think you're one
There are
of
so many.
you're one of those
I see.
that
You know, I once reviewed a book, Mr. Pinny Jason's book, now of blessed memory, and I was complaining about what I described as opinionitis. You know, so many people hold opinion in Nigeria, and you know, they push their opinions vigorously. So you just have columnists all over the place, you know. I just do my own bits, you know, in my own space, and in the platform that you know, I'm privileged to access. So I don't know. I really don't know. You know, what we must encourage, of course, is the democracy of opinion, the right of people to express themselves. But writing a column is an art. So it's not enough to just express an opinion. It's for you to be able to raise, you know, the engagement to the level of an art. And that's what I guess makes the difference between people who just write opinions and people who actually take the work seriously as an art. But there are opportunities for growth. People grow, you know, if they apply themselves.
all right. Now, before you went into public service, you were the chairman of the editorial board of the Guardian newspapers. What do you miss most about your duty as the chairman of the editorial board of the flagship?
Well, I mean, you know, the Guardian is part of my life. That was where I grew up, and I was very lucky. I worked with some of the best people in journalism, you know, in the last say 3 decades in Nigeria, and we were lucky. We had a publisher who was a newspaper man in the true sense of it, and that's Mr. Alex Igbo. Now of blessed memory. So it was a very great work environment for me. And as chairman editorial board, yes, I enjoy the fact that, you know, the Guardian editorial board is different. It was patterned after the New York Times editorial board. And what you find on that editorial board is a mixture of academia, you know, a lot of scholarship, journalism, you know, experience, you know, retired public officials, policy experts. So any meeting on that editorial board was like having a departmental seminar in a university. So the level of ideation that, you know, that newspaper maintained for years was not something you will find anywhere else. I mean, you can't just say you are expressing an opinion on the pages of the Guardian and you just do it in a casual manner. No, that will not be allowed. And part of our job was to, you know, be custodians of style, you know, and company ideology. Mr. Abel used to talk about the ideology of the newspaper, you know, and we used to have seminars also with him. So the level of seriousness there, you know, it's not something that, you know, anybody joked with. But of course, then I went to Abuja, I came back, and I returned to the same Guardian, you know, writing my 2 columns. I used to write a Sunday column and a Friday column, you know, but then, you know, life, things move on, many chapters, but of course, you know, I'm a Guardian man. You can be sure of that.
Yes, I was
life, because that was where we started.
I was ask this question, you know, it just scratched the surface a little. So I think we are going to round off on that. You know, I mean, we've always known you to be a Guardian person. You have also admitted that you're a Guardian person. How did your column now move from Guardian and now started at
anyway, that's a story for another day. That's a story for another day. You know, but I'm a member of the Guardian family without a doubt. You know, and that was where I learned the ropes of the business. And as I said, I remain eternally grateful for the opportunity. Yeah.
All right. So it's on that note that I would like to draw the curtain on tonight's interactive session. Once again, Doctor, I would like to really thank you for your time, for your talk.
Thank you very much. And let me thank all the people who joined us. Because I see many familiar names, joining us as the conversation continues. So thank you very much, Azuh, and all the best.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes,
thank you so much, sir.